Welcome to our oral history video series. Coquitlam Heritage gratefully operates on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coquitlam, Tsleil-Waututh, Kakate, and Katzie First Nations, all of whom continue to live on these lands and care for them, along with the waters and all that is above and below. Oral histories are an important part of our collections. They not only enhance our collection by documenting local history, but they also personalize the historical record. We at Coquitlam Heritage have put together a series of oral history interviews to highlight different community members in our city and the stories they have to share. This is an ongoing project, so please keep your eye out for more videos in the future. Subscribe to our channel to be kept updated. If you or someone you know who lives in Coquitlam is interested in doing an oral history interview, or if you have questions about this project, please feel free to get in contact with us. Our contact info is in the description. We hope you enjoy!
I was born in 1937 in the island of St. Kitts in the Caribbean.
I was born October 8th, 1990 in White Rock, British Columbia.
A long time ago, that's 1939, Barbados in the West Indies.
I was born in 1963 in southern Alberta.
I was born in 1936, March 23rd, 1936, in Pakistan. That was British India at that time, but later on, as the partition happened, it became Pakistan.
I was born in 1968 in Vancouver at St. Paul's Hospital.
I was born 1944, village Kotli Than Singh, district Jalandhar, province Punjab, India.
During those days?
Yeah.
Well, again, in the context of a developing country, a small island, people had very basic kind of stuff. A family meal will consist of some kind of meat for protein. I think our best bet most of the time was fish. Let's take fish as a main protein. There would more often than not be some kind of a basic starch, usually rice. The people loved rice. Potatoes, but not the white potatoes as we know it, but a lot of sweet potatoes that are grown locally, carrots and so on. So vegetables that are locally grown would be part of that kind of a meal. And individuals particularly look forward to making Sundays their special meal day. Usually fresh meat would be available in the marketplace, and so quite often people would buy beef or pork or lamb, as the case might be, if they're available, because they weren't always available. And so plan for Sunday. Sunday was a good meal. You put on your best as well. So that was what meal was like.
A Sunday was always a big dinner. That was a special dinner. But other than that, we had, see some of the stuff, unless you're a Caribbean person, you might not get here. We have what they call yams. We had sweet potatoes, but there were different types of that. And you have pumpkin, but you did a lot of peas and rice. Mm-hmm. Like you would, boil the peas there soft and then you mix it with rice. But for your vegetables, you had spinach, which is a bit different from the one here. And you had carrots and you had beets and turnips and that sort of stuff. You also had what was called an okra. And it used to be known as a Barbadian traditional dish. It was called cuckoo.
Okay.
And what that was, boiled okras, and then it was an art to it because then you had to add corn meal.
Mhm.
Anyhow, you had to add that without getting lumps in it. And then it was served with a nice gravy. And there's a fish called a flying fish. Usually you serve it with that or with oxtail. And those were the two favorite things.
And my mom's a really good cook, and so my friends would come over and just raid our fridge because they really enjoyed her food. And I think she introduced a lot of those kids that were my age to Japanese food. So I think maybe once or twice a week we'd have Japanese food, but otherwise it'd be these kind of normal meals or some very unusual meals, because my mom would try some different things sometimes because she was really into cooking and still is. And so we'd have some very different kinds of things that we'd never seen before. But otherwise, it was pretty typical.
We were vegetarians, and we grow our own food as we were farmers. In the morning, what we ate was corn or wheat with yogurt, salt and pepper, and pickle, and we had buttermilk to drink. And in the afternoon, vegetables, beet roti, and buttermilk. In the after school, we had we will go have roasted wheat, roasted corn, roasted wheat. We would have it with sugar, and corn as is, chickpeas with butter, salt, and pepper, and fruit, and sometimes fruit. And in the evening, we would have lentils or vegetables with still wheat or corn and buttermilk. And very last meal, we would have hot milk with jaggery. That's first stage of sugar.
Just on a regular basis? Yeah, my parents definitely tried to promote that a lot. We would have kind of, my memory from a lot of the time between elementary school and when I finished post-secondary and moved out of my parents' place is kind of vague because I was feeling so depressed at the time. But from what I remember, it was very common for us to have to sit down at the table and eat a healthy meal, which was good. So you get forced to do that. And we would occasionally have the TV dinner times, but a lot of it would be sort of a traditional set time, like a Friday we get pizza and we'll watch a movie while we're eating pizza, something like that. So there's definitely a lot of family interactions and focus on getting to know each other. And
Yep, every day. Like my dad would go on business trips once in a while, but usually we'd just kind of huddle around our little kitchen table. And a lot of times I'd have my friends over and they'd be there with us eating food. But every day we'd have family dinner. That's pretty important.
Yes, we did not sit on the table. They used to be like a camp type of a stoves. And there was a small sitting stools. We sat on them, and my grandmother would be making and serving. We'd be all sitting around, the whole family eating. She will give the fresh roti, what you call it, or naan. She'd be making it fresh and giving it to each one of us while we're eating.
Yes, we always had with family, unless lunch was at school because I'm at school. But yes, family.
Well, I became interested in cooking when I was approximately age 13. And I remember, of course, trying to put certain things together, and my mother was quite helpful. The first thing I really learned to cook and specialized in for a couple of years was a special Caribbean stew. My mother taught me how to do this, so, more specifically, how to use the various vegetables that were available. into the stew and how to prepare them and so on. So I became quite interested in that sort of thing.
I don't remember if your mom taught you, but I think you learned from observing,
Okay.
right? Although my mom did teach my brother how to cook, because I thought it was kind of interesting, because he never told me that, because I was 10 years older than my brother.
Mhm.
But he said that my mom told him that he needs to learn to cook in case if he got married and his wife was mad at him and she didn't want to cook for him, or so she taught him how to cook and how to wash his clothes.
Yeah, I try it. They're kind of weak facsimiles of recipes I've learned from my mom or my grandparents or from YouTube. Yeah.
I didn't learn to cook in India and in Pakistan, but in India, yes. By the time I came back here, my grandmother was saying you need to know everything, whether you do it or not, it's different.
Well, my mother is a great cook, and she cooked all our meals. So watching her and eating that, plus I had a few aunts that lived here that we would also often spend time with, like Christmas, big holidays, and stuff like that. They were phenomenal cooks. In Italy, I had an aunt and a grandmother who were great cooks, so we ate very, very well. And to eat that well, I figured I'd have to learn how to do it. So I would watch and ask questions, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm awful at cooking meals for myself because if I have free time, I'm usually filling it with some sort of project that interests me, and sometimes it's cooking. But a lot of the time, if it's just a general meal prep, I don't do it. So I'll either go out and buy a meal and spend too much money, or I cook something really easy. So my diet at home, especially when my mental health isn't in a great place, is not the best. So my parents will sometimes, if I go out for dinner at their place, give me something to take home and put in the freezer so I can have like a home cooked meal sometime. And there's things like quiche that I love, or there's a lot of dishes that I grew up eating that I don't eat anymore because I don't eat, I'm pescatarian now, and a lot of them contained meat that wasn't seafood. But there's still lots of different meals. My mom is a really, really good cook. I don't like everything that she makes, but she makes everything really well. And so I love when she'll give me meals like that quiche or burritos, or my dad makes incredible pizzas and baked bread. So there's definitely staples that we still have around. Saturday morning scones, Sunday morning waffles are traditions. If I happen to find myself at their place for a prolonged period of time, maybe then I'll start to get back into some of those traditions.
I really like chirashi because I just like a different mixture of fish and rice, and it's very fast because you can eat it so fast. My grandma used to make this really great mochi, which I still wish I got the recipe too. And of course, I love udon. I try to make it myself as well, but not as well as my grandma.
My favorite to make are usually the ones that I'm favorite to eat. So, where what's really traditional is the tortellini in brodo, which is tortellini soup. So we make handmade tortellini up at the restaurant, stuffed with meat, pork, prosciutto, and parmigiano. And that actually tortellini is, according to folklore, was invented in the town that I used to play soccer for in Italy. So that's one of my favorite things. It's one of the first things I learned how to make, and it's one of the things that always makes me happy to eat. If I'm not feeling well, a bowl of tortellini soup. If I'm feeling great, a bowl of tortellini soup. My dad eats tortellini soup every day at lunch. It's one of the best things in the world, I think. It soothes everything. It's brilliant.
I don't think I did any other major cooking during my middle teenage years. But later on, when I went off to university and was living on my own, again, I became curious about foods, especially when I first worked off the campus. I worked in a restaurant, and of course, I was introduced to totally new foods in North America, and those that I liked or enjoyed. When I was living on my own, there was this desire to replicate them, to see if I can, just present them or to build them from what I remember tasting either at a restaurant or someplace. So I became quite interested in cooking in those days, and carried that on in my family here after we established a family as well. So yeah, cooking has been part of my as I often said, my only really artistic expression.
I still make them. Well, not necessarily the flying fish, because it's not something you can get here. Over a couple of years, we used to be able to get it from one of the Caribbean stores. But I guess with COVID and all of that stuff, they haven't been carrying it.
Yes. Just a little different way of cooking.
A lot of changes came. Wow, what a boring food that was. Oh boy, everyone. So it was, and when I went up there, there was not any East Indian shops, and there was not too many East Indian people. In school, I was the only brown girl was there. When I moved there in 1973, not so much. To make now, we don't even have to make. You just go and get them. It's everywhere, very, very, it's so available now. Even ladies' fingers, like we call them, like okra. Okra is, the other day I went shopping, and there's a Canadian okra and India's okra. I said, wow, that is so nice. Yes, I'm so glad that now we are growing our stuff right up here.